Call to order the New Kent County Board of Supervisors November 23rd, 2021 work session to order. Ms. Watkins, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Evelyn?
Here.
Mr. Tiller?
Here.
Ms. Page? Here. Mr. Steers?
Here.
And Mr. Lockwood?
Here.
Good morning. We've got a pretty short agenda this morning, so we'll get to it. I know Mr. Steers has a lot of turkeys he's dealing with. All right, Resolution R-29-21 opioid litigation settlements. Mr. Hathaway.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Again, you have before you Resolution R-29-21. This resolution authorizes the county administrator and county attorney to sign necessary documentation to join the National Opioid Settlement. This settlement is litigation brought by states and political subdivisions against the three largest pharmaceutical distributors, McKesson, Cardinal Health, and AmerisourceBergen, and one manufacturer, Janssen Pharmaceuticals, which also includes the parent company, Johnson & Johnson. The settlement totals $26 billion. Virginia is projected to receive approximately $530 million out of this settlement, which it will distribute amongst the localities and keep a portion as well. New Kent County, if we do join this settlement, it's estimated that we will receive approximately $117,000 of unrestricted funding, which means there's supposedly no conditions tied to this. And there will be a second funding allotment of approximately $82,000, which has to be spent on opioid abatement programs and activities. In order to join the settlement, you are required to adopt the resolution that you have before you. And I just want to make you aware, and it's not binding, but I was directed by the Attorney General's office to go ahead and register New Kent as soon as possible. The amount of money Virginia gets depends on the number of localities that participates, and the Attorney General's office is pushing localities that's interested to register now. It is non-binding, so if you do not adopt this resolution, we can easily withdraw that registration, but I do want to make you aware that I did register New Kent at the direction of the Attorney General's office.
Here we go. Good morning. Mr. Chair, I have a question. When we talk about the opioid program, so does it qualify that we're a member of the Williamsburg-James City County Criminal Justice Board, which is one of the things that they do talk about in their meeting? So would it be our responsibility, or would it be our responsibility to share with them about the opioid awareness?
I've not seen the guidelines yet as far as what we can spend on, but I would think if we did some type of joint program with the criminal justice that's focused on opioid abatement, that should be an eligible expense.
Thank you.
Will this lawsuit be filed before the new administration takes over, new Attorney General?
Well, the lawsuit has already been filed, and this is the settlement of that suit. Instead of going to court, actually, they just chose to write a check, basically.
Okay.
You know, it's like when you get the $5 checks in the mail and you don't know what it is.
Don't cash it. Mr. Chairman, you said the first round of money, there may not be any strings attached?
That's what they're calling it. They're calling it unrestricted. We'll see. I'm always a little leery when people say unrestricted. I'm sure there's some restrictions, but I'm not sure what those are right now. Right.
And the only reason I asked that question, we just watched and I hate to say this, a mini series, and I forgot on what streaming service it was, Hulu, I think, and the name of it was called Dopesick, Dopessic. And if you have the opportunity to watch it, because this opioid company that they were following was Pharma, I believe, and it started in Southwest Virginia in a coal mining town. Mm-hmm. And it's really based on the family that owns that pharmaceutical company, and the DEA and the FDA that were pursuing lawsuits against this company. And that's why I was saying that unrestricted money, because they ended up paying out, I forgot how many billions of dollars, but it all had to be used in localities to help fight addiction and to help people that were addicted. I mean, and families. So, me personally, I think if we get $117,000 in the first round, that's what it should be used for. It's just my personal opinion, because it was an amazing miniseries to watch. It really was. So if you have the chance, and I'm not pushing Hulu on anybody, but it was a really good series to watch. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to second Mr. Tiller's sentiment. I would really like this money, all of it, to be used in some fashion to abate and educate about the addiction issues with these opioids, because it's devastated communities, families, and I think that just in the spirit of the settlement, that it would be wise for us to utilize those funds to help people with the addiction issues, with the law enforcement side of it, and just make sure that money is used in the spirit that it was meant. Thank you.
Motion? Mm-hmm. All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adopt Resolution R-29-21 approving the county's participation in the proposed settlement of opioid-related claims against McKesson, Cardinal Health, Amerisource, Bergen, Jensen, and their related corporate entities.
Thank you, Mr. Tiller. Ms. Watkins, will you poll the members?
Mr. Tiller?
Aye.
Ms. Page? Aye. Mr. Steers?
Aye.
Mr. Lockwood?
Aye.
And Mr. Evelyn?
Aye. Item 2, Resolution R-30-21, Virginia Opioid Abatement Fund and Settlement Allocation Memorandum of Understanding. Mr. Hathaway.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first action you took was for us to join the national settlement. This proposed action, requested action, is for New Kent to sign a memorandum of understanding with the state to participate in the Virginia Opioid Abatement Fund. The state has set up the Virginia Opioid Abatement Fund. That's where the national settlement money will be allocated. The money will be allocated to the localities from the Virginia Opioid Abatement Fund. And in order for New Kent to participate, we have to sign a memorandum of understanding for that.
All right. Any questions, concerns? Entertain a motion.
I'll do it again. Mr. Chairman, I move to adopt Resolution R-30-2021 approving the county's participation in the Virginia Opioid Abatement Fund and Settlement Allocation Memorandum of Understanding.
Thank you, Mr. Tiller. Ms. Watkins, will you poll the members?
Ms. Page? Aye. Mr. Steers?
Aye.
Mr. Lockwood?
Aye.
Mr. Tiller?
Aye.
And Mr. Evelyn?
Aye. Item 3, New Kent County 2022 Legislative Agenda. Mr. Hathaway.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. You should have a copy of the draft agenda in your packet, which we discussed at a previous meeting. This agenda outlines our priorities in the upcoming 2022 General Assembly session. Many of these items are not unfamiliar to you. Items that we have put on previous agendas and have discussed, transportation funding, is the top two items in the agenda. Recognizing the decreasing revenues that we've received for our secondary roads in the county, we would like to see additional funding in that area. The second item, we would like to have more input in traffic speed studies. We've all have had situations where we've requested speed studies, and apparently there's a set of warrants at the state that have to be met in order for speeds to be reduced. We believe, since it's New Kent County that primarily enforces our secondary roads and internal roads in the county, that we should have more of a say. And not only enforce it, it's New Kent County that deals with the traffic accidents and other issues when speeds aren't correct in our county. So it's just requesting that the county has more of an input into that process. Item 3 is I-64 widening. We are requesting that the state prioritize this project and work with us to find funding to widen 64 from exit 205 to exit 220. Well, actually beyond exit 220. From our eastern boundary to our western boundary, we want Interstate 64 widened. We do have a new item on number 4. Remote meetings of advisory boards and commissions. Through this COVID-19 pandemic, I've enjoyed, actually, the ability to do virtual meetings and remote meetings, especially for a lot of our advisory boards and committees. I think that it has increased public participation and attendance, and they've been a very effective way of conducting business. We're currently doing that under an emergency order, but once that emergency order is exhausted, it would be nice, I believe, if the state continued to allow localities to conduct virtual meetings. Number 5 is funding alternatives for groundwater, and we know that the state is pushing localities that use groundwater, especially east of I-95, to alternative water sources, mainly surface water, which is fine. We have seen the studies that our aquifer is stressed. But we would hope that the state would provide some assistance to localities with finding alternative sources. Those are the items that we're recommending that we communicate to our representatives, our state representatives, and then you see 4 other just position statements that are general statements.
Anybody, we've seen these. Has anybody got any more comments on the agenda?
I do.
Ms. Page?
Mr. Hathaway.
Yes.
And I guess this is for you too, Brenda. Would we have to, if because of CVTA, would we have to have on the legislative agenda anything about transit connectivity? Or would that just go through this CVTA and trying to get our transit services connected with Richmond and Williamsburg instead of just stopping at the New Kent boundaries?
I believe that we have the legal authority to do that now. So I don't think it needs to be on our legislative agenda.
It just needs to go through the authority?
Well, we need to work with those providers, basically, to set up a program. We need to work with GRTC, and Bay Transit.
Because
I think there's a will for Bay Transit to do that, and we need to work with GRTC.
Because they present a on-demand service, but that's what we have now.
Right.
Okay, so I guess I'll give it then.
And I agree. I mean, it would be great if there was a designated route, maybe a designated route to the Seven Pines bus stop, which I think is the GRTC's furthest east bus stop. And if we could get residents to Seven Pines, then they could pretty much get anywhere in the Richmond region that's provided by GRTC. So,
Or if we could get them to White Oak or somewhere, you know. In this day and time, maybe White Oak would be the safest place for them.
Yeah.
I'll talk to the authority.
okay.
Okay. Thank you.
If I may just, Ms. Page, you mentioned also Williamsburg area. It'd be nice on the other end of the county where a lot of folks head down. That's the Williamsburg Area Transportation Authority. You know, to have something of a hub or something that would connect with that as well would be nice.
I think that if we can get them to extend, that we could get them to extend through both boundaries, and then it might have to be a MOU between Williamsburg Transit and New Kent, but because they have funding coming out of CVTA for connectivity and transit, just to get them to agree to go to that border, and then we may have to talk with Williamsburg Transit with, you know, a place for them. I'll put it like that. So I'll report back.
I know at one time the outlet mall was kind of a hub location. I believe the Walmart now in James City, well, York actually, is now a hub location as well. So if we can get residents to either one of those stops,
Okay. I'll set up a meeting with all the parties and we can talk about it. Thank you.
You just gave yourself that job.
It's gonna come here anyway. So I would get it over.
All right, any more discussion on the legislative agenda?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Steers?
did we want to address anything in here about mandates?
It is one in there.
Which
I think
one?
it is. Yeah.
Yes, that is item 2.2,
Yeah.
unfunded mandates.
I was speaking more about vaccine mandates.
Oh,
We've already done a resolution for that.
I know we've done a resolution, but do we need to have that included in here?
We can.
Why would we want it?
I'm all right with the resolution we did. I think it's all going to be over with in
I think we
a couple weeks.
maybe just wait and see what changes occur in Richmond in the next month or so.
Okay.
Might be resolved on its own.
Motion,
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Lockwood.
I move to adopt the proposed New Kent County 2022 legislative agenda.
Thank you, Ms. Lockwood. Ms. Watkins, will you poll the members?
Mr. Steers?
Aye.
Mr. Lockwood?
Aye.
Mr. Tiller?
Aye.
Ms. Page? And Mr. Evelyn?
Aye. Next item, discuss 2021 New Kent County redistricting. Mr. Hathaway?
I think there's a change to that first map, which is members of the board. This is just an update of where we are with our redistricting process. Back in October at our regular meeting, I presented a presentation on the 2020 census data, We also adopted 12 goals to guide staff throughout this process. We came back to you at your October work session and presented 4 redistricting plan options to you. The month of November, we've been focused on community outreach and reaching out to various groups and going over those plans, receiving input from those groups as well. So far, I've met with the school board. I've met with the Democratic Party. Tonight, I am meeting with the NAACP and the Clergy Association. I also have a meeting set up during the first week of December with the New Kent Republican Party. And on the first week of December, I'd also would like to set up a just community-wide meeting to go over the plans. And I'd like to do all of this prior to our December 13th public hearing. We have made a tweak to Plan 1 that was presented to you previously. That's why that is titled 1A. This is our preferred redistricting plan at the moment. And some of those tweaks came from just comments that we've received thus far. If you are comfortable with 1A, I am recommending that this is the plan that we advertise for public hearing. It does not lock us into this plan. We still have the ability to make changes up until you adopt your official redistricting plan, which we'll be asking the board to adopt on December 13th. We also have reserved, if you're not ready to adopt on December 13th, we're asking that you at least do the public hearing. We have some time to do a special meeting the following Monday if needed, but we are legally required to submit a plan to the Attorney General's office by the end of December. What you have before you, I've given you copies of all the plans. You'll notice, and this is different from previous maps, the red outlines on each map. That's merely just showing you and highlighting the changes to our existing districts, just to give you an idea of what changes are involved. One good thing about Plan 1A is that it is the plan with the least amount of change for our residents, while still complying with the 12 goals that you've adopted in early October. This time I'd be happy to answer any questions. I am requesting that we advertise Plan 1A for public hearing.
Anybody have any questions? So 1A, what changes? Just the prison population? What?
Well, you know, I did mention to you that we don't think that the prison population complies. Well, it is correct. Back in 2020, the General Assembly adopted legislation that inmates are to be counted towards the locality of their last place of residence. Unless they're out of state, they're counted towards New Kent, or there is no known address, they're counted towards New Kent. The census data shows the entire population right now of Henrico Jail East being counted towards New Kent, which appears not to be in compliance with the actions that the General Assembly took in 2020. We are being told that is, regardless, right or wrong, that is the official census count, and that is the count that we are required to use. Now, in Phase 1A, you'll see in District 3, that deviation rate is 4.97, which is almost at that 5% deviation, which is one of our goals, not to exceed a 5% deviation. We felt comfortable with the deviation being that high, knowing that there's 527 residents being counted in District 3 that more than likely will not vote in District 3. So we're comfortable with the deviation being a little higher there.
Mr. Chairman? Actually, Mr. Hathaway, I'm just looking down on the south side of the map.
Yes.
It's not clear, but it looks like Rockahawk stays in District 5. Rockahawk Campground, and Ed Allen goes to District 4.
Ed Allen, and there's a mobile home park, I guess, adjacent to Ed Allen too, which would also go to District 4. But
Okay.
you're correct. Rockahawk stays in District 5.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. It's not a whole lot.
So, what about Mount Pleasant Road, please?
Yes. Mount Pleasant Road. Currently, I guess the east side of Mount Pleasant Road is in District 3 currently. That would change and become District 5. Actually, everything south, that whole Anexa area that was currently District 3 would revert to District 5.
Okay.
But the west side of Mount Pleasant.
It's still 4, yes. Which actually I like, because it kind of it configures the districts to be more compact, kind of, and more manageable. Yeah.
This page gets all my friends and relatives at the gym.
I still got them, I think.
Looks like you get some more acreage too. You get more land.
In 10 years, Mr. Lockwood, we'll do this again.
All right, you just need a consensus on
Yes.
public hearing. Is everybody okay with this plan?
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Item 5, discussion and approval of engineering design services for sludge handling at the Parham Landing wastewater treatment plant. Mr. Lang,
Right. Good morning, everyone.
morning.
This handsome young man to my right is Chris Edelman, senior engineer with Arcadis. He's been integral in the upgrades at the wastewater treatment plant. County, especially on the sewer side, so he is well versed in New Kent's utility needs. We're going to make a slight change to our agenda item. We're not going to request any action today. We're not quite as far along with Chris's proposal as we had thought we would be, but we did want to get in front of you and discuss the need for sludge treatment at the wastewater treatment facility, and prepare you for a consent agenda item probably in December that will carry a fairly large number. So we are currently hauling at least one tanker load of sludge from the wastewater treatment plant per day. That's about $1,000 a day in cost. So this is liquid sludge. That's a byproduct of the treatment process. And we're seeing a ton of growth, obviously, as you know, in neighborhoods that are served by public sewer. Brickshire, particularly the farms of New Kent, saw Resource International dropping off more plans this morning. So we do see a huge increase in sewer use and sewer flow in the coming 2 to 3 years. So this is a project we need to stay ahead of. Regardless of whether we move forward with the sludge treatment, we are still going to have to make upgrades in sludge storage, pumping, digestion, all that stuff at the plant. We've just got more sludge than we can handle. We're heavily reliant on Brockwell's to do the hauling and Henrico to accept the sludge. Brockwell's has been very reliable, no complaints there. Henrico, they can cut us off at any minute. They can, honestly or falsely claim we have a treatment problem, we can't take your sludge. That pushes us to another disposal option, which is more expensive at HRSD. They could do the same thing. We really just don't have control of our sludge disposal. We're at the mercy of these other localities and municipal entities. So this project will set us up well into the future and give New Kent the autonomy, or as much autonomy as possible, in our sludge handling. So what Arcadis has proposed and what we liked about their proposal, they're going to look at the end use, the final disposal option first, and see what is most economical for New Kent County, and see what has the most sustainability into the future. And we're going to, build the sludge treatment around that, so that we know we have an end, a disposal location for the waste well into the future. If you recall, we had the big hubbub about land application of the liquid sludge and all that with the flies and everything. I guess that was 4 or 5 years ago. Most likely what we're looking at is landfill disposal. So that's kind of what we're aiming towards. And but they will vet all those options, and then we will design treatment around that. So currently, and I just received this yesterday, so I haven't had a chance to go through it in great detail, but we're currently looking at it just in design cost about $1.25 to $1.3 million. So definitely a big number, and not one I just wanted to drop on the consent agenda without seeing you face to face, or as much of my face as you can see. So,
well, and Mr. Chairman and members of the board, one thing that staff is looking at right now as we go through our capital improvement process for next fiscal year is maybe moving forward and expediting some of the borrowings as we get a good idea of the cost of the actual plant. Borrow sooner rather than later. We just closed on a refinance with 1.1%. We'll never see those rates again. And that's something I may be coming back to you to take advantage of those low interest rates. But first, we're going through our overall capital improvements budgets and seeing which projects we want to recommend for next fiscal year. But instead of waiting for next fiscal year to move forward with borrowing, if those projects are projects that you want to do, we are looking at borrowing sooner in this current fiscal year to take advantage of the low rates.
You said it's $1,000 per load to haul it.
Yes.
What about the cost? Is that including the cost? Henrico too? Is it?
Yes.
That's total.
Yes, that's total disposal cost.
Okay.
And that liquid hauling does involve some risk. If there is an accident, a spill from a truck, then first thing someone's going to ask is, what is it and where did it come from?
They'll probably figure out what it is pretty quick.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess the principle here is to dewater as much as possible, digest, and then dewater as much as possible, so we are creating as dry a possible waste as we can. Keeps the weight down and the hauling cost.
Mm-hmm.
Most likely just be fed into roll-off dumpsters and hauled away. So if there were a glitch in the disposal facility, certainly a dumpster could be stored at our site, for a week or something, if that's what needed to be done. But as it is with the sludge, we don't even have the tanks to hold the sludge, so it has to keep moving.
Anybody have anything for Mr. Lang?
So when you come back, you're going to come back with real numbers And where is this facility going to be at Perham Landing for the
Yes,
sludge?
ma'am. On site.
And so, if we're hauling this somewhere, where are we going to store it? I mean, where are we going to dispose of it?
The finished product would most likely go to a landfill. That's our aim right now.
Okay,
But we're gonna
so
look
are
at
we
the-
going to have to pay to put it in a landfill?
Absolutely. Yeah. We're going to
And
look at the
so,
finances of all those options.
absolutely. So, with our landfills filling, and that's the issue that's coming up now with the shortage of landfills, then we're still going to pay to haul it.
Correct. They're going to look at one of the items they will address is landfill capacity and how long they are able to remain open and accept our waste.
Okay, so we're still going to haul it,
Yes.
and we're still going to haul it to a landfill.
Yes, ma'am.
So what?
Significantly less.
The weight,
Okay,
for one thing, it's dry. And then when we haul it to a wastewater treatment plant, it has to go into their process.
mm-hmm.
So if they have an upset in their process or they feel like there's something in our sludge that would upset their process, they just say we don't want it.
Okay, I get it.
It's currently tied to the jail contract with Henrico.
Mm-hmm.
The history.
But the jail ain't going nowhere.
Not to get too deep into the weeds, Henrico built the plant for the jail. Henrico operated the plant. Henrico took their own sludge, no problem. They've now turned it over to New Kent.
Okay.
And politics get involved. So
Yeah, let's leave it right there.
yeah. So
Anybody else?
I'm just curious, is there this byproduct that's being disposed of after the process, the solid, is there any use for it? Or is a landfill the only option?
great question. It depends on the level of treatment and how much we want to invest in treating it. And then, of course, I'm sure you've seen pelletized or bagged compost. Frequently can come as wastewater sludge. We don't have enough I don't feel like we'll have enough to justify the cost of those processes. So getting rid of it, is going to be the best process for us.
Is there something in that process that we don't have enough of it to, have it commercially viable, but in the process we're going to have the capacity later, if that's the case?
Certainly would.
Okay.
Yeah, it certainly would.
All right.
So we'll have this on the consent agenda in December.
So you don't have a hard number?
Is our goal, yeah.
Okay.
And we'll double back with Brendan on the agreement and get everything straightened out.
All right.
Thank you for your time.
Thank y'all.
Any additional questions? All right.
We're good.
Everyone have
All right.
a happy Thanksgiving.
Have a good year. Y'all too. Thanks, Chris. Do we have any other business?
I do have one item. I've received a request from the clerk's office for the board to adopt a resolution authorizing the closure of county offices on Wednesday, November 24th. You've already made that decision, and that announcement has occurred. But the judge has requested a resolution, formal action from the board, so that he can close the courts on Wednesday, November 24th. County offices are already closed. That's been announced. I believe the judge would like to consider closing courts too. but he needs a formal resolution in order to do that. And that's what's been prepared before you. If adopted, I will distribute this to the judge so that he can take whatever action he chooses. No, it's, this is a request that came over the weekend. I sent out notice of county offices being closed early last week, I believe. But I just received this request over the weekend.
So the judge wants to close it, or the clerk?
Well, the clerk wants the
See the
the clerk wants to close, and that's where the request came from, the clerk. But the judge has told the clerk that he will not consider closing the courts unless the board adopts a resolution. But the request came to us from the clerk.
I love it.
I thought the judge had the power to do anything.
Yeah, I did too.
You listen to him, the clerk do too.
Mr. Sheriff?
If I may ask.
Yes, please.
Made aware this morning that the judge originally had scheduled the circuit court, and only the circuit court, because he does not have the authority over the general district court or juvenile, to be closed tomorrow. However, he looked at the state code and he did not have the authority. So his plan, as of this morning, was to have those offices open unless there was an ordinance passed that gave him that authority.
What do you think?
Yes.
Do you think he wants to close them?
His original thought was to have the circuit court shut down entirely for Wednesday. That was the original order that we had gotten as far as our staffing of the court.
I just don't want to make him mad.
So the consensus is that everyone wants it closed. He just wants the formality of a resolution. Is that what we're dealing with?
That would be my understanding in talking with my captain this morning. The judge had initially made the move to close circuit court, found out he could not do it based on just a court order. It needed to be a resolution by the board, and then he would react to that.
So he was going to close circuit court only?
Yes, ma'am. He does not have the authority to close both. Both of the others, I just think this resolution may give those judges the ability to do the same. May.
The only question I have is, does this affect my day job?
Might affect somebody's planning on being in court tomorrow's day job. Might put him off a little bit longer. All right. Motion.
So moved. Or do I need to read the resolution?
You don't need to read the whole thing. Just R-32-21. To approve it.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Teller, for a motion of approval of resolution -32-21. Ms. Watkins, will you poll the members?
Mr. Lockwood,
Aye.
Mr. Tiller,
Aye.
Ms. Page,
Aye.
Mr. Steers,
Aye.
and Mr. Evelyn.
Aye. Anybody have anything else?
I have one other comment, and it's regarding broadband. We just came back from the VACO conference, and throughout the conference, the group that we've partnered with for the VATI grant, River Street Networks, was there, and I had the opportunity to have a couple of conversations with them, and the board as well. We have put out a formal RFP for partnership and contract with an internet provider. Wanted to know, as we start to work on a contract, would you like to hold a special meeting come early December so we can start discussing terms and conditions of that contract? We can start to put that in place. And the reason why I think time is of the essence is with the VATI grant process, that award notice is scheduled to come out mid to late December. We're going to see more money ever put into the VATI grant program, which means there's a lot of localities that are going to get funded, and I hope that New Kent is one of those. With that being said, I think supplies and materials is going to be very difficult to find, and we really can't start buying stuff until we're under contract with the provider. So the sooner we're under contract with the provider, the sooner we can start ordering equipment, the sooner we can start purchasing easements and right-of-way. It really just allows us to move forward a lot quicker. That contract is crucial to that schedule, though. So therefore, December, I would request that we have a special meeting for broadband.
Mr. Chair? Mr. Hathaway, when is the due date for the proposals for that RFP?
I believe it's December 30th.
30th?
I think it's the 30th.
So we're going to get together to discuss the terms of whatever agreement we move forward with, regardless of who that might be.
Yes, we're building the template now.
Okay.
Yes.
Good. Yes, I would definitely be in favor of us having a broadband-specific meeting.
So I guess y'all are working on that, getting it together. When do you think you'll have it ready?
Well, as far as dates, we have a meeting. Our regular December meeting is December 13th. What if we continue that meeting to the 17th?
That's not a good day.
Not in the morning. Okay.
How long do you think it's going to take?
I think a couple of hours. I don't see this as a full day retreat. It's our plan to come to you with some conditions and terms to discuss and review. We won't be developing them from scratch. So,
could we do it earlier? I mean,
yes.
On the 13th. I mean, what's the agenda look like? Is it a heavy agenda on the 13th?
5 public hearing items.
I just looked at it.
Yeah.
But
we could do it earlier that day.
It's at the pleasure of the board. What do they rather do? But I can't. That 17th doesn't work. Does not work for me.
Okay.
It doesn't work for me either.
Okay.
Nor does the 15th.
Can we come in early prior to our meeting on Monday?
I can do that.
Maybe come in at 4 instead of 6 and just
Have a dinner break.
Y'all better tell me now because I'll miss something.
That works for me. Yeah.
I can come early.
Is that okay with y'all? I know everybody's busy this time of year.
Change it to 4 o'clock.
You think 4 or 4:30?
Either is fine with me.
Either is fine with me. One question is, we're having a discussion about the contract. Do you want to wait until you get the proposals in? Or, I'm not trying to hold it up. I mean, I'm happy to come early, but typically we'd wait to discuss that until we got the proposals in, so we knew sort of what ballpark we were dealing with before we tried to.
I think that we haven't really had a open, full discussion about the structure of how we're going to provide broadband. So, whether we create an authority that oversees it, we create an authority that operates it, or we just select a committee advisory, or I think we need to come up with the structure of what broadband is going to look like in New Kent County before we even enter into the terms of an agreement. So for me, that's the basis of what I'd like to see us lay out is, what kind of structure are we going to have that's going to be kind of guiding this process.
So the RFP didn't have any type of structure in it?
No, the RFP is simply give us a plan of how you would serve New Kent County and some rough costs at this point.
And we did leave it open to options of, ownership and all that as well. So I think
there is language in there that New Kent County anticipates, because of the amount of its investment, to have some ownership or revenue sharing agreement as part of their proposal. So.
All right. So 4:30.
4:30 is good. Thank you.
Okay, y'all.
So,
Yes, ma'am.
so is this proposal something, this draft, something that we can be emailed before the day of the meeting? We can look it over, and then if we have questions, we can come with our questions. Is it something that can happen?
We can definitely give you some suggestions and summaries. As Mr. Lockwood stated, a lot of it is going to depend on the structure of ownership. If we own the system, then that agreement's going to look a little different. If they own the system and we have a mutual contract, then that's a different type of agreement as well. But we can lay out the options for you, and definitely some talking points, and that will be given to you before the meeting.
I think that that time management wise, I think that would help. Instead of coming in and then you see it and you got to absorb it and talk about it the time you see it. For me.
And I've been pretty clear about it since the get-go here. I'd like to see us have a significant share of ownership in this system. Whether we agree to that as a board is fine, but I'm coming from it from the perspective of, if we're going to be investing $25 million into a program, or who knows what the number is, we'll know better when we get the RFPs back. But, if we're going to invest that kind of money into something, I think it's just in our best interest and in the best interest of the taxpayers for us to have an ownership share in that system. It'll give us some authority in price structure and all that as well. And I just want to make sure that, just like when we build a school, we spend millions of dollars, at least at the end of the day, we've got a school to show for it. And for us to invest that kind of money into something that someone else will own outright, I just don't think is a good thing. So that's my take on it. And I'd like for you guys to consider that as well. Thank you.
All right.
I'm going to change my calendar now.
4:30.
All right. Anything else?
Do we want to have a motion to meet at 4:30 and have that approved for the record?
Thank you, Ms. Tiller. Ms. Watkins, will you call the roll? Mr. Tiller?
Tiller.
Mr. Tiller? Aye. Ms. Page? Mr. Steers?
Aye.
Mr. Lockwood?
Aye.
And Mr. Evelyn?
All right. On behalf of the board, I would like to wish all the citizens a happy, safe Thanksgiving. Here in New Kent, we got a lot to be thankful for. So, and also during this holiday season, please remember people in the county that aren't so fortunate. We have a lot of great charities and people that do a lot of great work for people that are less fortunate than some. And please consider donating to some of those charities throughout the county. And don't forget, this Sunday it will be the Grand Illumination. It's always a well-attended, great event. So hope you all can make it out here from 3 to 6. I'm not going to remind anybody for that. All right. Did any other board members have anything?
I have a motion.
You know that. Go ahead.
Hold on. We got the next regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Supervisors will be held at 4:30 on Monday, December 13th, 2021 in the board room of the County Administration Building. There will be, as of now, no December work session. All right, Ms. Tiller, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn?
Thank you, Mr. Tiller. Ms. Watkins, we poll the member?
Ms. Page? Mr. Steers?
Aye.
Mr. Lockwood?
Aye.
Mr. Tiller?
Aye.
And Mr. Evelyn?
Aye, adjourn.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah.